In the summer of 1963, a man named Bruce Reynolds sat in a London cafe reading the newspaper. He wasn't an ordinary man. He was a career criminal, always looking for the big one, a job that would make him rich for life. One day, Bruce got a secret message from a friend, a man known only as the Ulsterman. This man said he had inside information about a Royal Mail train that travelled from Glasgow to London every night. It carried old banknotes being returned to the Bank of England, millions of pounds in cash. Bruce listened carefully. The money wasn't well guarded. Only a few railway men and postal workers were on board. There were no police, no weapons, and no one expected an attack. Bruce's heart raced. If we can stop that train, he said, we can take everything. He began to gather a team, not just any criminals. He wanted the best of the best. There was Charlie Wilson, quiet and smart, who could handle the money. Buster Edwards, charming and cheerful, who could stay calm under pressure. Ronnie Biggs, who knew someone who could drive a train. Roy James, a racing driver who could handle fast getaways. And a few strong men who could lift heavy sacks of cash. Altogether, about 15 men joined the plan. They called themselves The Firm. Their goal, to rob the Royal Mail train on the night of August 8, 1963. The gang met secretly at a small house in London. They covered the windows, spoke in whispers, and drew maps of the railway lines. The train they wanted was called the Travelling Post Office, which left Glasgow at 6:50 p.m. and was due to reach London early the next morning. The key part of the plan was to stop the train at the right spot, a lonely area where no one would see or hear them. They chose Bridigo Bridge near the town of Leighton Buzzard. But how do you stop a speeding train at night? That's where their inside information helped. They learned that trains stop when the signal light ahead turns from green to red. So they decided to fake a red signal. One of the robbers, Roger Caudry, was an expert electrician. He found a way to connect a battery to the signal system and make it shine red instead of green. They practiced for weeks, studying train schedules, learning how to uncouple carriages, and timing every move. They even found a train driver named Stan Agate, who could help them move the engine once they stopped it. Everything was ready. All they had to do now was wait for the right night. It was just after 3 a.m., early morning of August 8, 1963. The countryside was dark and quiet. Mist hung over the fields. At Bridigo Bridge, the robbers waited in silence. Their lorries were hidden under trees. Their faces were covered. Their hearts pounded. Down the track, the Royal Mail train thundered toward them, carrying 128 mailbags filled with money. Then suddenly, the signal turned red. Inside the locomotive, the driver Jack Mills saw the light and slowed down. He thought it was a normal stop. But as soon as the train came to a halt, men in dark clothes appeared out of the night. They climbed up onto the engine. One of them opened the door and shouted, "Stay calm! Do as you're told and no one will get hurt!" The driver tried to resist, but one of the robbers hit him on the head with an iron bar. Not too hard, but enough to make him obey. They pulled him aside and brought in their own man, Stan Agate, to drive the engine forward. They uncoupled the front two carriages from the rest of the train, the ones carrying the money, and drove them under Bridigo Bridge, where the rest of the gang waited. There, in the dark, they formed a human chain, passing heavy bags of cash into their waiting truck. Each sack was filled with used banknotes, some still tied with paper bands. It took less than 30 minutes. No guns, no shouting, just quiet teamwork and speed. When they finished, they had over 2.6 million in cash, the biggest robbery in British history. Before leaving, they made sure to tell the train crew to stay put for half an hour. Then they disappeared into the night. The gang drove 27 miles to their safe house, Leatherslade Farm, hidden deep in the countryside. It was an old farmhouse with a barn, perfect for hiding money and people. Inside, they were like children on Christmas morning, laughing, drinking tea, and pouring cash onto the floor. They counted for hours. The piles of money seemed endless. It was 2,631,784. In today's value, over 50 million. They decided to stay there for a few days until the heat died down. They listened to the radio. The news of the robbery was everywhere. The newspapers called it the Great Train Robbery. But Bruce Reynolds was worried. "We can't stay long," he said. "We must clean everything and leave no trace." He ordered everyone to burn fingerprints, clean dishes, and destroy all evidence before leaving. Unfortunately, not everyone listened. When they finally escaped, they forgot to burn the Monopoly board they had been playing with, using real money. Police later found it covered in fingerprints. That mistake would cost them everything. Soon, Detective Chief Superintendent Tommy Butler of Scotland Yard took charge of the case. He was known as the Flying Squad's finest, a patient, brilliant investigator who never gave up. Within days, the police found Leatherslade Farm. Inside, they discovered fingerprints, dishes, and that famous Monopoly board. Piece by piece, the mystery began to unfold. One by one, the robbers were caught. Charlie Wilson, Buster Edwards, Roy James, and Ronnie Biggs among them. Bruce Reynolds managed to escape, for now. In 1964, the trial began. It became one of the longest and most famous trials in British history. Most of the gang received sentences of 25 to 30 years in prison, the harshest ever given for robbery. But even prison couldn't hold all of them. In 1965, Ronnie Biggs climbed over the prison wall using a rope ladder. Friends picked him up in a van, and soon he vanished into the world. He travelled through France, Australia, and finally settled in Brazil. There, he lived freely for decades, sometimes even giving interviews. To some, he became a folk hero, the man who escaped the British justice system. Bruce Reynolds, the mastermind, was caught in 1968 after 5 years on the run. He had lived under false names in Mexico and Canada, but the law finally caught up. Many of the robbers eventually returned to normal lives, but none ever became rich from the money. Most of it was lost or spent quickly. The Great Train Robbery became a story told for generations, a tale of clever planning, teamwork, and a perfect crime that wasn't quite perfect after all. It changed how money was transported in Britain forever. Trains became more secure. Police got better at tracking organised crime. But the robbery still holds a strange fascination. How 15 men stopped a Royal Mail train in the middle of the night, took millions without guns, and nearly got away with it. And even today, more than 60 years later, one question remains unanswered. Who was the Ulsterman, the mysterious insider who told them about the train? No one ever found out.